Here we go. Tech time, tech troubles. Okay. Are you hearing me now? Can somebody tell me if things are going okay? Hello? Can you hear me? It would be great if I could know if you can hear me. Got it. Excellent. Okay, great. That was my fault. I hadn't got the sound settings right. Plugged it to the wrong little thing in the computer. Oh dear. Tech is never my strong point. So I'm going to roll right back and start again and talk about, hi guys. Hi, Marie-Claire, Suzanne, yeah, Julie, got you all, Regina, great to have you here, Suzanne, Christina, that's brilliant. Okay, so I was just filling in for those people who haven't been here before, like Christina, just filling in and saying that they are about creative business, these workshops. So, but that doesn't mean they're, talking about things like your profit and loss or your balance sheet. It's very much more about the personal factors that may be coming between you and having the results you want in your creative business, or just talking about creative business generally and what it is to run a business these days, a digital online creative business. So whether you're an educator or a healer, an author, an artist, an activist, you probably have more in common with other digital creative entrepreneurs than you do with people who are working more traditionally in your own sector. And so these workshops and the book series on which they are based, very much about looking at those common factors across digital creative business. What makes a business creative? What's different about that? How do we behave differently? Because we do. We have a very different set of intentions and we operate quite differently to traditional businesses in lots and lots of ways. And so today we're going to be talking about something that everybody wants more of, and that is productivity. How to make more, no matter what you're doing, whether you are educator, healer, author, artist, how to make more of your core product. And those of you who have been kind of coming to these workshops now for a while will know that by core product, I mean the central thing that you do, which will have all sorts of other products and projects around it, like gift products and attractor assets and premium products. But the core of what we do is why we're here. It's what we love to do. It's our passion. We want to make a profit from it, but we are equally holding our passion for it in balance. So today is going to be all about, about productivity, how to be more productive. And if you're not as productive as you would like to be, why not? So quick whiz for those of you who don't know who I am. I'm basically an indie author, poet and director of the Alliance of Independent Authors, and also creative facilitator. So I've kind of brought everything that I've done in my past life into my working life now, which a lot of digital entrepreneurs are doing. And it's one of the joys of it is that we don't have to restrict ourselves. If we like doing lots of things, we can actually blend them all in together and make something of that. So here, never mind all that. About the actual workshops, I think I've kind of filled you in on what they are about. But if you want to be sure to hear about what's going on with these workshops, then you can sign up here and get an alert each month before they start. They're always on the third Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. But as I say, if you want a little reminder, that's the place to go. So here's what we're going to be talking about today. No, not that. That's last month. So yeah, I will recap on last month before we dive into this month. So last time out, we spoke about pitching. By pitching, we weren't talking about what you might conventionally think of pitching, like sitting opposite a movie director and pitching your movie. Really, we were talking about the idea of the pitch as your explanation of what you do in a way that inspires another person to take an action. And the need for you to be able to define what you do in those terms. So, to understand yourself, what it is you are all about, to understand your own passion and mission and where they meet, that thing we call the mission, which gives us our micro niche, understanding all those things about yourself and getting them into a pitch. And we practiced, we looked at some good pitches and we looked at your own pitches, and some of you got a new pitch there and then during the workshop. Other people took some of the concepts away and we're going to work on that pitch. But until you have your pitch, it's producing and all the other things that we're going to talk about now from now on in. So next time we'll be talking about promotion and positioning and all that kind of stuff. But until you're clear and you have clarity, it's probably good not to be driving yourself to produce, because you can be producing stuff that doesn't quite match the mission and the passion. And also good not to be overly promoting, because again, you could be promoting in slightly the wrong direction. So the pitch is very, very central. Having said that, it can take time, experiment, exploration, and actually doing and putting yourself out there, making some mistakes, getting it wrong, bringing it back, refining it before you actually do know what your pitch is. So if you're interested in that, you'll find it on the workshops page on my website, ornaross.com/workshops. And all of the previous workshops are there, and you can dive into them anytime, all free, all available. And so you can refer back, and you will be able to do the same with this one tonight if you don't catch everything that we're talking about, and you probably won't, because we move at a fair old pitch. The other thing to say just before we get started is you are going to be doing some work. You are going to be doing some free writing. So for this workshop, you need pen and paper. So if you don't have that handy, it's time to go and get some pen and paper now, while I just go through the introduction and tell people what they can expect. You won't miss anything too vital if you just run and get some pen and paper now. Hopefully those of you who are used to doing this with me have the pen and paper to hand. Is everything okay? Anybody got any questions? It is the workshops are your opportunity to ask questions, and you do that by popping them into the comments box. I'm working with a platform called BeLive here, so the comments take a little while to come through to me. I don't see them immediately, but I will refer to them during the session or answer them afterwards if that's better. So please do use the fact that you are here for the live session to get some live feedback. And I'm really interested in your experiences too, because we're all learning this stuff together. It's all new to all of us. We're all learning by doing. Some people might say we're making it up as we go along, and there's a bit of that in it too. So everybody here has a lot to offer, and please do offer anything that you can, to other people in terms of tools and techniques for productivity. That can be really useful. There are some very useful things you can do. I'm not going to be focusing tonight, though, on tools and tech. Tonight is about something a bit different, and it's about why, even though we know, probably everybody at this workshop has been at a productivity workshop before, or you've read blogs online, or you've read a book about how to be more productive, or you've talked to your creative friends, and you know this stuff. So I am going to go through what I think are the basic productivity tips that every creative needs to know. But I'm not going to spend all of the workshop there. I will offer you what I know on that front, but really, until you get into understanding yourself, your own rhythms and so on, you're not going to get on top of this productivity thing. It's not about endlessly driving yourself. It's not about feeling, oh, I'm never producing enough, because you can always feel like that if you want. You can feel like that the day you die as a creative, because there's the mountain of work and things to be done and opportunities in this world that we live in. They ain't going away. They're always going to be there. So it isn't about that. And that's what I'm going to be talking about tonight, how to get into the right connection and relationship with your own creative flow so that your productivity flows as opposed to, you know, being driven out of you. So what we will talk about, firstly, we'll be looking at the whole need for you to assess the challenge of productivity. What is it you want to produce? And what does that look like in terms of where you're at? The very fact that you're doing something creative means you're stretching yourself and you are challenging yourself. And that is brilliant. That is fantastic. But it really does help if you're realistic about that challenge. So sometimes, you know, we're not as creatives. We kind of take something on and we don't really know what we're taking on when we do it. And if we did know, we'd never do it. And I think I can speak from experience there. My first book, when I took it on, I thought it was going to take me 2 years to write. And it took me I'm not even going to tell you how long, an awful lot longer than that. And had I known how long it was going to take, would I have embarked anyway? I don't know, but it probably a bit of fooling myself. Another thing that I see a lot with young creators, everybody thinks they're going to be rich and famous. And it's only after a certain amount of time doing what you're doing that you realize, you know, if being rich and being famous is your motivation, you're going to fall off somewhere along the line. Somewhere along the line, the motivation has to be something quite different. And people who are in this, you know, for those surface kind of rewards, yeah, they're great if they come. But if you're in it for that, that definitely has an effect on productivity. So assessing your challenge, we'll be talking about 3 hats, which some of you I know are very familiar with, but some of you may not be. But mainly we're going to be talking about your definition of success, your creative intentions, your creative energy, your creative rhythm. Until you kind of understand yourself at that level as a creative, then you can be in a very uncomfortable relationship with your own creative flow and with your own productivity. So that's really the core of this workshop tonight, and we'll be exploring that through free writing. We're going to talk about planning your time and breaking your time and your plans down into year, quarter, month, week, day, now. So you always know what you're supposed to be doing. You've got the big vision, which is at the 7-year, 5-year, 1-year level, but we can't plan and think in terms of that sort of time scale. It doesn't work for us. The quarter is the sort of time frame of business for a very good reason, because it's a very manageable amount of time to get something significant done. So in the Go Creative method as well, we break the year down into quarters and then further down into months and then down into weeks and then down into days. So you always know, you know, what you're supposed to be doing today. Doesn't mean you'll always do exactly that today, but you always know what your creative intention for today is. And this has a huge effect on productivity, and talk a bit about that. We'll talk about accountability and how important it is to sort of have outside drivers to make you do things, because if you're relying just on your own willpower, how that tends to dissolve and fall apart. And we'll be talking about the importance of rewarding yourself. But as I said, primarily, we're going to be talking about your rhythm, your creative flow, your rhythm, and being realistic about your own rhythms, about your own energy, about your own intentions of what it is you're trying to achieve. So if you've any questions about any of that, fire it into the comment box, but we'll start by talking about that need to assess your challenge. So pen and paper to the ready. I just want you to write down, first of all, without overthinking it at all, just write me 1 sentence in which you describe your current creative challenge. So what is the challenge that is facing you right now at this moment? Just 1 sentence. If you want to share it, feel free to do in the comment box, feel free to do so. You don't have to though. Sometimes it's good to share, and sometimes it's good to keep things kind of secret between you and your creative self. So yeah, just 1 sentence which describes your challenge. And now I want you to imagine that you kind of got an elastic band here now, today, the 19th of February, and you're just going to stretch that forward and bring it forward to what month and year will you finish that challenge? In other words, how long is it going to take you, in your estimation, to get from challenge here, challenged, to mission accomplished, from desire to done? Roughly how long in your mind is that going to take? And again, if you would like to share that, please feel free to do that. And so when we assess our challenge as creative entrepreneurs, we need to be thinking about what we do in terms of three different roles. And very often people only think about one role, which is the craft role. So when you ask people what they're going to accomplish or what their intention is or what they want to make happen, they will talk in terms of the actual crafting. But productivity rests not just on your craft, on whatever it is that is your core project, your core product. Yeah. It also rests on your process, how you actually, the methods and the systems you set up to get the stuff out of you to wherever it's going, your destination, essentially a customer. And it also rests on your ability to get news out there about who you are and what you do. And so we break the creative entrepreneur's role down into three. And there is the maker, the manager, and what we call the maximizer, the person who grows the business. So the maker works in the business, making the products, crafting the projects, actually, so if you're a teacher, your core thing is the actual lesson, your lesson plans and your experience of educating. If you're a healer, it's the session that you spend actually in clinic healing someone. If you're a writer, it's producing words, and so on. So that's the crafter. But behind the scenes then is the whole pace at which you work, the processes that are there to uphold you. That includes tools and systems for payment and all sorts of things that often creatives think we don't want to engage with. And that's the manager. And the manager works on the business, looks after the passion and the profit, and makes sure that they are integrated and flowing nicely, and in a way protects the maker and the maximizer, the promoter, who works to grow the business. So they're the three roles that you need to do. So again, without overthinking it, just a quick note about what that means to you right now for the project that you're engaged in, the one that you just wrote down in a sentence a moment ago. So we've got some great stuff coming in. So Courtney wants to edit books faster, and finds that the editing phase takes twice as long as the writing phase. Nothing unusual about that, Courtney. That is, often people say, I think it was George Bernard Shaw said, all my thoughts are second thoughts. And, most people call that editing phase writing, because it is actually, this is where you really engage with your subject matter. And in a way, your first draft, which you put out there, is you writing to you. It's just you getting to know what's in there, in your mind, in your imagination, in the back brain, if you like, getting that down onto a page. That's you talking to yourself. In the rewriting and the editing, then it's you thinking about the person who's going to consume it, the reader. So Regina is, letting go of editing while writing. So letting go of the editing persona while in the first draft. Absolutely. That's a really good one. Susan needs to say no, and that it's key. Productivity, selection and commitment. We talked about that a lot 2 workshops ago, how important it is, and how creativity is not just firing off everything. It's very much about narrowing down to the stuff you really want to do. Marie Claire's a short 50k prequel, not that short, my dear. Some people call that a full book. So for her young A series or her young adult series, yeah, her YA series, and she has a very specific timeline, April 2019. And Donna, current goal is about prioritizing and processing to meet the writing expectations. That's fantastic. That's exactly the kind of thing that we're talking about today. And it's exactly the kind of way that a creative needs to think about time. And Susan is on the marketing jag of, Susan Jennings, that is on the marketing jag for her trilogy, wants more sales. A little bit on that last time, Susan, with the pitch, but a lot more coming in the next 2 workshops about that as we move into the maximizer. So, and Julie's focus is on Maker right now. So I'd like to pick up on what Julie has just said there about keeping the focus on Maker. We have the 3 hats, and I would say that you need to do something on all 3 each week. So it doesn't have to be a lot. And Julie's absolutely right. There will be one that you're really focusing on. So I, for the last few weeks and for the next 2 weeks, have been knee deep in the manager stuff because I'm doing a major website upgrade. And it isn't the actual writing of the pages. That's really more the craft task and will be done at the end. It's much more about how everything integrates, how the systems move, change one thing over here, what it affects over there, really bringing the manager into the analysis of something that grew up very organically from an idea and has kind of organically sprouted lots of different branches across 7 years, lopping off some of those branches. It feels like tree surgery and tidying it up. My focus is on manager right now, but I'm also doing some of the other stuff because that needs to keep on moving as well. And it's not just about keeping the productivity happening, it's about keeping that part of yourself live, because if you don't use whichever part you don't use is getting rusty. It's very, very like a muscle. It's identical to a muscle. If you use it, you stay connected to it so that when that part needs your focus, it's very live for you and you can just pop over there. If you've neglected it and let it kind of wither while you stay very focused over here, you let the other 2 go or you let 1 go, very common for creatives to manager go particularly. And if you do that, you will find that when the time comes that you have to address it, you've got a big ridge of resistance because it isn't live for you. There's no flow around it. There's a big, big boulder in the way. And so it's important. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. It really doesn't. And if you're very stretched for time and you have a full-time job and lots of other commitments or whatever, and you feel I can't do anything outside my making stuff, just 15 minutes a week even, just keeping in touch with that aspect of yourself, because the other thing it does is it keeps you rounded as a creative entrepreneur. Because if you're going to hit all these, you need to keep that sense of yourself as a 3-headed person. So even if it's the smallest amount of thinking about it, do think about it each week, each month. Okay, so so that is assessing that size, that part of the challenge, if you like, the 3 hats that we need to wear. We also need to assess the challenge in terms of our own rhythms, and that's really important. So it's key, actually. So very often with these things, and particularly at this very exciting time that we're in, where there are so many different opportunities for digital creatives, we can be firing off on all cylinders all over the place. And we need to get very focused. And we did a lot of work on this already in the earlier workshops, particularly 3 workshops ago on the second sequence of success, where you need to define your, what is success for you and what are your specific creative intentions. And that's very much about selection and letting things go. Saying no, as Susan said, saying no to other people, but also saying no to yourself, the things you'd like to do, being realistic about what you are doing in this time, New projects always feel more attractive than the one you're in. All excited about the early stages, then there comes that moment where you have to stay with it. You have to just keep turning up and processing the thing and just staying in that place and not allowing yourself to be distracted is a huge part of producing more. So in order to do that, you need to narrow yourself to what your core intentions are and stay there and understand your own energy as well. What age are you? How fit are you? How energetic are you? What are you doing to keep your creative energy high? People who are around you who tend to draw on your energy, suck energy away from you, how are you managing all of that? And the rhythm of your day and your week, which is not just about creative work, but is also about creative rest and creative play. So actually planning, this is just a sheet from the planner that is now with the final proofing and which we should have for the next workshop. But this is just one of the week sheets from it, which looks at your creative rest and your creative play across the week. So it's important not just to plan your work, but also to plan your rest and your play. And again, those who want to be making will kind of resist this a little bit. I don't have time to play today. I don't have time to rest today. But actually, you're 50 million times more productive when you get proper, intentional, creative rest and play. And again, this is something that we have spoken about quite a bit on previous workshops. So again, just free writing pens to paper for a moment and just write just a tiny bit about each of those headings that I mentioned there. So first of all, your energy. Just where is your creative energy at the moment? Where is your focus around energy? What's desirable there? What's good there? What works well for you? If you have a drug habit or something that's draining your energy that you know needs to be looked at, all you need to do is just write these things down. No need to beat yourself up or to set intentions around them specifically. Just to note that they are there is very often enough. Just to observe them and sit with them without judging them, which can be quite a challenging thing to do, but it is the most creative response, not to jump into a judgment, but just to note how things are. So energy, first of all, just a moment or two to write everything you can think of about your own creative energy and how it feeds into your productivity. Okay, Regina has a question about the planner as to when it will be sold or available. It will be available to everyone in the Facebook group as soon as it's ready, which hopefully will be soon. We're in a queue for the proofreader. So yeah, within the next week or so, we should have delivery on that. I'm not sure when I'll be selling it, but it's going to be, all of the things are going to be available to the group first. So a comment from Marie Claire on energy. My energy was going, just keeping the writing through last year. Now I'm with my horses first. I'm riding again. I'm still getting the writing done. It's hard, even after 7 weeks, but the horses are making a difference. Absolutely. You always strike me, Marie Claire, as somebody who's very in touch with what they need energetically, and that's great. And the more you know about yourself, and I think the longer you're in this game, the more you get to know about yourself around all this kind of stuff, and particularly around energy. So I'm not going to go through the definitions of success and your creative intentions and so on, because we've either covered it last time or we're going to get to it next time. But I do want you to go away from this particular workshop thinking about your own energy and your own rhythm and how that feeds into your own productivity. And I'll come back to that in a few moments. So one of the other key sort of helps, if you like, and supports for productivity is accountability. And you'll hear in creative circles, everybody talks about being accountable, because if we just rely on ourselves, days of a habit of passing, weeks of a habit of passing, and we don't know what we've done, what we haven't done, and everything goes into a bit of a fuzz. Being accountable to other people, other creatives, has been shown to really drastically increase your chances of finishing work and increasing your creative flow. So for those of you who are not aware, I just want to talk for a second about our Go Creative in Business Facebook group, where we come together and each week we set our creative intentions at the beginning of the week under those three hats of making, managing, and maximizing. So we're keeping the three hats going, while yes, as Julie said, knowing sometimes that we're focusing very much in on one, sometimes beautifully balancing all three, sometimes got two going and one is in danger of being neglected. But we're always thinking. Each week we stop for a moment and we make an intention under each of the three hats. And then at the end of the week, so on Monday we set our intentions, and then on Saturday we actually write down what we've done. And it's kept there in the Facebook group under the units system, so you can refer back to previous intentions. And we don't time them, but the planner will allow you to do that when it is available. It's very much about timing things and getting realistic about time. But just the setting of the intentions and then the revisiting it at the end of the week and looking at what actually did happen. And very often, this is creative stuff. So very often what we intended at the beginning of the week, what happened at the end of the week, the accomplishments may be in quite a different place to where we started off, or we may succeed in getting what we want done. Or very often, almost everybody is guilty of this, we overstretch what we think we're going to do in a week, or we put down a vague sort of a thing like, work on my book. But it's much better if we can say exactly how much we think we're going to do on the book, words wise, chapter wise, or some recognizable amount, quantifiable, so that at the end of the week we can say whether we did or we didn't. If it's just a vague work on my book, well, 5 minutes work on your book means that, yeah, okay, you can say you worked on your book, but it doesn't really mean you've worked on your book. So yeah, and holding each other accountable isn't about big whips and sticks, because that doesn't tend to work very well. It's really about finding other creatives who understand the challenges, who know what we're trying to do, and who are sharing the journey, really, and are keenly aware of what it takes and what feeds it and what doesn't. So yeah, so that is the creative, the Go Creative in Business Facebook group, for those of you who would like to join us there if you aren't there already. So yeah, that is it more or less, unless we have some questions. Let's just have a look and see. Yes. Mary Lynn, hi, welcome, good to see you. Okay, not able to, you've got them now. Okay, I got it on the iPad. Facebook is a bit of a mystery in terms of what it does and doesn't allow us to do. It's a great platform in loads of ways, but it definitely has its challenges. So thanks for being here, Mary Lynn. And Courtney is drained from her day job and struggling to find the balance and the energy to write, shifting towards a full-time author mindset, taking on fewer clients going forward. Fabulous. So continue with that sort of analysis. Day jobs are draining, particularly when we get to the point where we don't want to do them anymore. It's an awful lot of the energy goes in resisting the doing of the job as much as in the actual tasks that the job asks us to do, if you know what I mean. I think one of the best things that can help there is meditation, in terms of how it allows us to kind of move away from that judging mind. Because if we have to hold the day job for a while, and we know we're in transition, and the balance usually for us in that transition, we're balancing for a while, we're doing loads more day job as we build up some finances and confidence on the creative side, and then it tips over where we're doing more on that side and a bit less on the other. But in that shift, if you can hold your creative energy for your creative work and not allow it to be leached by emotional resistance, which is the most draining thing of all. And I have found personally that free writing and well, effortless exercise, absolute essential, need to get out and about, but meditation and free writing are really, really useful for that. So we also have the morning flow creative practice for those of you who can come. And again, it's in replay. If anybody wants to know about that, I can tell you more about that. And obviously some of you who are here are regular attendees, which is great. Regina, I'm finding distraction escalate some days. I'm guessing it's really procrastination. Not sure if it's disengagement with the story or lies elsewhere. It would be interesting to observe yourself, Regina, at the point, as soon as you can, after you notice that you become distracted, if you know what I mean. So very often with distraction, we're well in it before we realize, oh, I got distracted there. And then it's kind of, what was I doing? And how did I end up here? Especially online, that's just very easy to do. But if you can kind of do a little kind of reverse journey and see just what were you doing just the moment before the distraction came in, and sit with whatever that is, and that can be quite uncomfortable sometimes. And if you sit there, if you just sit and don't do anything, or maybe just free write, or just sit with it, knowing that it's there, after a while it gives in, it releases, it lets go. A really useful exercise for this, for just holding yourself there where there is a bit of discomfort. This is creative growth. If we go off and kind of we get distracted, sometimes it's because the back brain is doing its work and we'll come back round to the answer, but that can take a very long time. A very useful shortcut is what I call the creative breath, which is where you focus completely on the out breath. Okay, and you squeeze and those of you who do the morning meditation will be very familiar with this. You take your out breath all the way to the end, and then you squeeze out more air. So you're concentrating on the effort of getting as much air out of your lungs as you can. You'll be engaging your intercostal muscles, and you'll feel all of your chest kind of contracting to really, really, really breathe out. And then when you really can't breathe out anymore, you just stop and relax and just observe how air spontaneously comes back in, swells the belly, and all of these things that yoga teachers are often teaching people to do in a willed way, to expand the diaphragm and allow more air in. Actually, the easiest and best way to do that is to focus on the out breath, and the in breath kind of takes care of itself. So that creative breath, if you hold yourself in place there with something that is uncomfortable, that is particularly if you find that you're kind of stuck, and if you do that, and if you stay there, you will find that just as the breath looks after itself, if you focus on the out breath, if you just show up for that and make that effort, the effort of just staying put with the thing is enough. The flow happens by itself then. So it's not about willing it, it's the opposite. It's kind of a counterintuitive thing to do that yields more results. So give that one a go. I'd love to hear how it goes for you and see if it does. Can you say again where the previous workshops are accessible? Yes, indeed. It's ornaross.com/workshops. So pretty easy. Marie Claire, I said to a writing friend I was on a deadline last week. She said, it's only your own deadline. Oh dear. still a friend. I know, I'm kidding, of course she is, but yeah, a lot of people don't get it, and why should they? You know, they won't. They don't understand that if you kept that attitude, you never would have achieved anything. So, as you say, Marie Claire, if you don't take it seriously, who will? Courtney Kenny's a big yes to the meditation, said it's what's helping her most right now. And Regina is going to give the creative breath a go, and she will report back, and we'll see how that goes for her. So yes, if any of you would like to join us for flow practice, meditation and free writing, that is a different Facebook group. We were all doing it all in one, but it was getting, it was kind of taking over the creative business group, and not everybody wants to meditate, or they have their own method and don't want to necessarily come together to do it. But if you do, it's Facebook groups / creative flow practice. You'll find it there. So that is it for this month. Do check out the other workshops. You'll find them there, ornaross.com / workshops. And if you want to get an alert for next month, then just ornaross.com / workshops -alerts, and that will send you a reminder 2 days before and then just 2 hours before we go. So thank you so much for being here. And next time out, we are looking at, where are we now? Pitch, and we've just done production. So next time we're going to be looking at publication. And by that, I don't mean, for the authors among you, I'm not talking about getting your book done. I'm talking about the original meaning of publication, making public, making what you do public and getting it out there into the world, the various ways that we can do that. So yeah, thank you for being here. And if you have any more questions, you can leave them in the Facebook group, and I'll get to them either tonight or tomorrow. And for you practitioners, see you in the morning for meditation and free writing. Thanks again now. Bye.